It feels a little bit like old home week as I look around, so many great new and existing friendships in the room. I spent 18 years at NBCUniversal, so I feel lucky to be a part of this panel. I'm joined on stage by Joe and Shenan from L'Oreal. And as we get started, I'd love for you guys to just tell everybody a little bit about what you do inside of your ecosystems and a little bit of your day-to-day. So Shenan,
you want me to start? Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Shenan. Ooh, yeah, that's a feedback. All right, I'm not going to turn that way unless they tell me that's okay. I'm Shenan Reed. I'm the head of media for L'Oreal in the U.S., so I oversee all of our media investment and strategy across all 38 of our incredible brands in this country. Most people don't realize how many brands we own as a business, and so there are 38 brands in the portfolio. I'm going to guess that almost all of you probably use at least one of our brands. And if not, we can talk about that later, and I can certainly help. But we were talking about earlier, Vinny was talking about having products for people who have mouths. I have products for people who have skin. So, we're here to help. And with this dry air, I'm just going to say CeraVe would be your best friend right now. So.
I love it.
I'm Joe Cady. I lead advanced advertising and partnerships at NBCU. Two big parts in there. The partnerships part is I lead the advertising component of all of our distribution and monetization relationships. So all of our MVPD and virtual MVPD distribution deals, our device and platform deals, our social partner relationships, our technology partner deals, our relationship with Apple, selling Apple News. So all of that is in the partnerships world. And then the advanced advertising world is all of what we're talking about today. Our data-driven linear business, our audience I/O business, our, of course, programmatic business, and our interoperability strategy.
Perfect. So we've heard from 4 other panels where everybody's come up and talked about a lot of the innovation and technology that started to come into the television space, which I think we're all really excited about. And so, Shenan, I'd love to start with you. Tell us a little bit about how you think about the beauty business and how innovation and technology is helping advance your business models.
I mean, across the beauty business, technology is very important to us, and L'Oreal really is a technology beauty company, but I won't talk about the beauty technology side of it. That's its own ecosystem. On the media side, technology has been very important to us. We are on that same, I won't quote exact numbers, but drive large digital investment portion for our business, and as a result, have also spent a great deal of time thinking about the tech stack, thinking about how the pipes connect, making sure that we're thinking about using our first-party data assets smartly. And we are in an incredible position as L'Oreal because we do have an incredible first-party data asset because we are not just a consumer brand that sells at the major retailers. We also have direct-to-consumer businesses as well. So I get to see both sides of that ecosystem and how that builds a first-party ecosystem for us.
And that's great. And obviously, as a big brand advertiser in television, how are you applying that to the CTV and the programmatic space?
We get to use our data in all sorts of fun places. We actually have done some really incredible work in the past year or so, really starting to take our first-party data assets and using it to create better consumer experiences with the media, which if anybody has ever heard me speak before, I will always talk about how advertising, when done well, is a service to the customer. So we are always looking for how we drive that, I'm looking at Kendra and Angel, we will always drive that consumer-first experience, right? We want to approach it all from that point of view. And really the use of the data is not there to create a better mousetrap, but ultimately to create a better experience. And so a recent campaign, I won't quote the brand specifically, but in a recent campaign, we were able to, by using our first-party data and by controlling for frequency across both a network partner and the open web, by running through the programmatic pipes, we were able to reduce the frequency and ultimately get a 10% lift to new unique users by just being able to control that frequency and using those dollars in other places. And I think the opportunity that we have in this space is really to do exactly that. How do I reduce the frequency, make sure that I'm giving you a better consumer experience at the end of the day with my advertising, not follow you around with a lip balm that you've already purchased, separate that out, not beat you up with a product you're probably never going to buy, and use those impressions not to reduce and pull back to my bottom line, but to ultimately open up the brands to reach more consumers. And it's probably in places and consumers we're not even thinking about reaching right now, right? And so there's just a tremendous opportunity to really expand the depth and breadth of the consumers that we're reaching.
And it feels like you're moving along in the journey, and you guys are a few years in and really starting to see the effectiveness of the campaigns that you're activating this way against.
We are.
That's great. And Joe, when we talked a little bit in the pre-work with you and Shenan, we talked a lot about putting the consumer at the center of everything that you do, and NBCUniversal is really known for doing this. You guys are one of the first in activating CTV in the programmatic space. I'd love to hear a little bit about your journey and what you guys have been doing inside of NBCU to make this come to life in your environment.
Sure. We've learned quite a bit in the course of doing it. Probably one of the best things that we've learned is in being the best, it helps to partner with the best. We very much appreciate our partnership with Trade Desk. We consider it best in class. And just this day is, I think, an incredible testament to the leadership that these programmers and Trade Desk are creating in the industry together. So partnering with the best is a critical component of it. Another big lesson we've learned is pairing our scale with simplicity and streamline and approachability. So we have a fully distributed strategy across every device, every platform, every service. Together with our content investments and our content strategy, that adds up to enormous scale. 1 billion viewers globally, 227 million in the US, over 180 million in streaming. All of that scale can lead to quite a bit of audience fragmentation and quite a bit of complexity. And so one of the big things we learned was to simplify that down into really 2 products in streaming. Peacock Premiere, which gets all of the impact of Peacock, and Peacock AX, which gets the full reach of the 180 million universe in streaming. So that simplicity, and both of those products are available to transact programmatically. So that simplicity, it was a huge learning. The third thing that we learned is programmatic does not need to be a trade-off with premium at all. We view programmatic very much on par with the rest of our premium experiences. In launching Peacock, we actually had a chance to sort of reinvent the TV advertising experience with a low ad load, no repetitive ads, full frequency control, ad innovations, and creative quality. We actually built technology to ensure that the creatives that came through, whether through our managed service business or programmatically, were equally up to the creative spec that they needed to be. So that, and then the fourth one was flexibility. And so we have an activation agnostic approach. We, of course, do business historically on a managed service model. We continue to do that. It's very important. We've added programmatic completely on par with that managed service model. And it's an ability for us and our clients to do more business together, often across multiple models, but also for us to do business with a lot of marketers that we might not be able to serve if we didn't have an automation platform. So it's been, I think, sort of a win for marketers, a win for us, and a win for viewers as well to get to experience a broader variety of messages.
Yeah, and I think, just going a tad deeper there, you're really democratizing the access that people have from the agency and brand side to be able to activate against this premium content. Do you want to go a little deeper on that, about any insights that you guys are having across a broad swath of clients that are taking advantage of it? I
would love to. It's one of the things I'm the most excited about, as you can tell.
I know, we talked a lot about this, so I feel like it's important we go deeper.
Well, I love that with the automation, that we now have in the industry, we can bring many more marketers into premium, TV that you just couldn't do before. So there were 2 parts of that question. I think the content part and the sort of empowerment and democratization part. On the content part, our programming strategy is across the board: entertainment, lifestyle, news, sports, English language, Spanish language, pay one movies, live events, and all of that is available programmatically. To dig into the live event part a little bit, last quarter together, actually, we made the Men's World Cup available programmatically for the first time. And the result of that, and massive viewership, by the way, I think it was the largest FIFA event in the US ever, English language or Spanish language. We had the Spanish language rights. So these are massive events. By making it available programmatically, we were able to bring an extra 100 marketers into the World Cup that wouldn't have been able to access it in a managed serve-only model. So that's great. We're thrilled with that. That was just one event. That was just the World Cup. We'll have 30 events every month on Peacock going forward. So US Open, racing, Sunday Night Football, It goes on, red carpet, it sort of goes on and on. All of that is available programmatically. And then on the serving more customer side, the extra 100 in World Cup was a great start. Ultimately, we do business with multiples more marketers than we do in our managed service model, like 10 times more. And I think we're just at the beginning of that. We're actually so excited about it that we launched another entire sales group just focused on it, our SMB group. So we'll continue to have our group that serves the largest agencies and the largest marketers. We've now added this group specifically to focus on small and medium-sized businesses, on independent agencies, on performance marketers, and then we, of course, continue to have our local sales group. So we're thrilled to bring more marketers into the fold.
Open for business for everybody, which is exciting, and I think the heritage of bringing all the sports and the live program in is really exciting. I think that's the next horizon, that many brands want those moments and times, those special moments in television, to be able to access them programmatically, I think is wonderful. Shenan, when you think across all of the breadth of the L'Oreal product suite, obviously there's certain brands that have big budgets and have historically been in TV, and others that might have more discrete dollars to take advantage of. How are you moving them through the television journey? Are more of them getting involved in TV because of this?
Well, so what Joe was saying is a great point. When we look across the depth and breadth of our portfolio, we've been in the upfront for probably most of those 60 years, right? And so the network buys are very healthy, and from an efficiency perspective, they're very good. And we do get the reach and depth and breadth that we need across that managed service inventory. But the conversations we're having that get us into that world of programmatic, and then the ability to be able to layer in that data piece, does allow for some of our smaller brands who have the video assets, but haven't necessarily had the opportunity to put them in that platform or to be around that type of content. And so it is moving them upstream, if you will, into a whole new ecosystem. And it's opening up. They're not small to medium-sized businesses because they're inside L'Oreal. But they are still brands that maybe aren't playing on that big national stage in the same way. And this type of opportunity with partners like NBC is giving us the ecosystem that we need to be able to start to elevate them into spaces they haven't been able to play before. It's a tremendous opportunity to make sure that they're spending the right dollar amount, but also reaching new audiences or reaching audiences in new moments. Because if we take it back to that consumer point of view, there is a difference between that lean back sitting on the big glass in the living room or the kitchen or wherever that big glass happens to be in your house versus the devices you're carrying around your hand. And those could both still be through the app of Peacock, but the experience in both of those places is quite different. And so opening up that moment for a consumer to see some of our advertising on that big glass where they haven't been able to see some of those brands before, I think has just been incredible for us.
New opportunities, obviously, that people can take advantage of. You're talking a lot, Shenan, about your first-party data. Joe, I wanted to pivot to you. One of the themes today, we talked a lot about identity. Linda, you're chairman of Global Advertising and Sales, who most of us know in the industry, has talked a lot about how identity is TV's new currency. So I'd love to hear how you at NBC are thinking about the identity strategy and any maybe breaking news that you want to share today.
So we're obviously big believers in data and identity. We launched the NBC Unified platform that provides 200 million person-level IDs, 90 million households. We've already done business with probably much of this room to the tune of thousands of transactions a year, leveraging that identity platform. And as I talked about, we want to make the full suite of capabilities available across transaction methods. And so we've been assessing identity solutions in the programmatic landscape, thrilled to announce that we have now officially partnered on UID2. And so that will be rolling out. We're in final product testing right now. Should be live by next month.
That's great. I know a lot of lawyers were involved in those discussions too. So thank you. Thank you for your partnership.
We're thrilled to be doing it. Should boost addressability, should add to efficiency and effectiveness, and I'm sure just the beginning.
That's great. And Shenan, when you think about NBC's adoption of UID, it must help to have a similar baseline and identity framework across multiple partners and programmers.
Absolutely, I'm thrilled that they're choosing an identity resolution to work forward with. I don't believe that we're going to have one identity resolution for everybody. We'd be foolish to think that we get to one standard across the entire industry. When have we done that on anything? It's just not how we operate as an industry. I do think we're going to see a proliferation of them over the course of the next couple of years, and then a conglomeration of them, and we'll probably end up with the same way we did with ad verification partners and things like that. A few that are going to rise to the top and be the ultimate the solutions. But that takes us back to the conversation about interoperability. And I know Lisa mentioned that earlier, and I just think it's such an important piece for us to all remember and consider is how do we make sure that all of these different tools that we bring to market, the identities that we bring to market, somehow find a way to potentially work with each other and not in isolation of each other. Because from an advertiser's point of view, and specifically from a consumer's point of view, if I can't see how that world is operating and I've got these walls up between these different places, then I am going to create a terrible consumer experience at the end of the day. And we are just finally getting back to a place where consumers understand and appreciate the trade-off of ad-supported media and are maybe not quite as interested in paying full subscription prices all the time to have non-ad supported media, right? So if they're going to come back and give us the opportunity to give them advertising again and have ad-supported media, which is, by the way, better for most of our media partners anyway, we need to make sure that those experiences are valuable and not waste that precious moment that they've given us.
So I couldn't agree with you more on that. I think interoperability is critical. I also completely agree that there's going to be more than one identity solution, and we need to accept that and lean into it. On the last point that you made, we do see that audiences are leaning into ad-supported solutions.
Yeah,
I mean, we launched Peacock on an ad-supported basis. Yep. We're up to 80 million users now in Peacock, and 90% of them are in the ad-supported plan.
Yeah.
So it's very much like lean
on TikTok,
forward.
right? And you'll get somebody telling you how to cut all of your paid streaming services so that you can and get you back to probably mostly ad supported, so that you end up not having to pay this incredible cost, right? We just tried to go cut the cord recently, which worked, by the way, except my cable company raised the rates of getting my internet connection instead. So somehow the TV was free.
Joe probably doesn't want to talk about that.
Yeah,
topic.
no, that's a whole nother problem. We'll discuss that another day. But it's such an interesting moment, I think, for consumers, because I think there was this moment, and we talked about this a little bit on the call. Like, I think Galloway has said that advertising is going to be ultimately a tax on the poor. I don't think that's true. I think consumers value advertising still, and I think we have a need to make sure that we do it well. And that's not just about connecting the pipes. That's not just about not following them around with ads they've already seen too many times or products they've already purchased. It's also about the content that we produce in that advertising. And I know that's not the purpose of the conversation that we're having here today, but there is a conversation to, I think, be richly had about what is the actual ad unit that we are bringing. Not only where does it live and how is it interruptive or not interruptive, but what is the content that's in that space, and how do we make sure that that is of value, that it's entertaining, that it's engaging, that it's building a great consumer experience, and that they find value in seeing that ad.
Yeah, I think it goes back to what you guys were saying at the beginning, which is if the consumer is at the center of every decision that you're making, whether you're on the brand side or on the programmer side, ultimately it's going to be a better experience for everyone involved, which is really important. Switching topics a little bit, or diving in a little bit more on the data side, I'd love, Shenan, your perspective on the retail data and how you guys might be activating against retail data, just given the breadth of the brands that you represent and the channels to which you're distributed in.
Yeah, I'm so excited to see the retailers come into this space and open up the opportunity for us to access their consumer base as a data source across the programmatic pipes. I think it's a tremendous opportunity, especially for our consumer goods brands, not our direct-to-consumer brands, right? Because they have their own relationships, although some of them also work with these retailers. But for our consumer brands especially, who haven't had that kind of D2C closed-loop capability in the past, this is a tremendous opportunity for them to be able to target in on the right audiences, and then to make sure that the impressions that we're driving are driving to audiences for specific retailers, and that we're helping to support that ecosystem and really helping to close that loop. I think what's interesting as the retailers continue to open up their data into the programmatic pipes and give us the opportunity to purchase against those audiences. Closing the loop on attribution is going to be really important for us, making sure that we truly understand exactly how that's performing and what it does for us, because it gives us, again, the opportunity to optimize that consumer experience and make it better for them. And the more we can pull waste out of our media, the more media we can go buy. At the end of the day, it's not about reducing the amount of media, it's about making sure that we're expanding those audiences. But I also think that it's an opportunity for us to recognize that when we have that retailer data, it isn't just it isn't just closing the loop of that last step of the funnel, but it is truly an opportunity to elevate where we find that consumer and introduce them to new products. So we're starting to think about the difference between when I need to share with a consumer what they want to buy or what I think they should know about, right? I want to share with you what you should know about versus what do you need to know about because you're asking me the question. And those are two different ends of our buying cycle. And there are moments where we are launching a product and I need to tell you that it exists. And I think the retailer data can be just as valuable in that I need to share this with you moment as it can be in the I know you're looking for this product, you're about to need to replenish it, and I'm going to close the loop for you right here.
Yeah, I think what's exciting about the retailer data is exactly what you said, which is you're much more informed about actually who the consumer is. I think that's always been a challenge with the retailers in the past. And Joe, obviously it's a huge innovation for your segment, Shenan. Mm-hmm. Joe, in your world, NBC continues to iterate and develop and create new opportunities. We talked a lot about shoppable and how that could be available or coming at an accelerated pace in the programmatic space. I know you've done a gaming deal. I'd love to hear a little bit more about some of the things that NBC's doing to innovate.
Sure. Well, one, again, I'll underscore what Shenan just said. I completely agree with that, and I think it will help prove and really give marketers more capability to be able to use CTV, both as a branding and awareness vehicle and as a performance vehicle. I think we all firmly believe that it is, and it sometimes has been harder to prove, and I think now it's getting a lot easier to prove. So that's I think, great. I think that will be a big part of what we see going forward, is that data is not just used for targeting. Mm-hmm. It's also used for planning, and it's increasingly used even in the creative production process of sort of tailoring a message. Mm-hmm. We've done a bunch of work on this, and that's what we think one of the real use cases for the unified platform can be. It's segmenting out your consumers and being able to speak to them more uniquely, and being able to evolve creative to speak to them at different points of the funnel, as opposed to just targeting the same message to everybody. So we're thrilled with that as an innovation that is both coming, but really is already here and is already getting started with. Gaming is another one. And I think gaming, in-game advertising, is going to be a great complement to CTV. So we struck a partnership with a company called Anzu that runs in-game advertising. It runs across multiple game publishers. And part of what we're so excited about is that it's a much easier transition, we believe, for marketers into in-game advertising, because you don't need to pick an individual title and then make a sort of deep, hard-coded investment. It's a way to activate quickly. It's available programmatically through Trade Desk. And you can quickly use either existing creatives or customized creatives. You can run across genres, you can run across publishers. You can figure out what's going to resonate for your brand. We've got full measurement support for it. So I think we're still a little bit early days in that, but I think as we sit here a year from now, we'll see many more marketers taking advantage of that automation to start to get into that. One other thing that is not quite as whiz-bang as some of this, is more on the simpler side. The industry is still maturing from a creative quality standpoint. I mean, across the industry, there's sometimes upwards of a third of creatives that are sent to premium CTV are not meant for premium CTV. They're formatted for mobile, and they're not meant to run on, what was that, an 85-inch TV or even a 55-inch TV.
Quite impressive.
They're not. And that's, I think, an easy fix that we can all work together on across all of the programmers and across marketers and agencies, to get the most impact for the investment that's getting made to run the right formats. So that I know we're going to solve by this time next year.
Yeah, I love that. And I feel like we've touched on a lot of topics that were covered in other panels, leading up to this. Everybody's innovating. There's lots of opportunities, keeping the customer at the center of the conversation. As you guys think about 2023 going into 2024, I'd be remiss if I didn't take the opportunity to ask you guys what you think we're going to be talking about or looking back on a year from now.
Yeah,
Shenan,
I think this is going to be the year of clean rooms. We're going to have a lot of conversations about clean rooms this year, and we won't get it completely right. I think the true value of the ultimate clean room is going to be, or how clean rooms work for us, is probably still 3 years out. But I think this year is going to be the year that we start to really put them into motion, test, try, build those muscles until we get the industry strong enough and connected enough to truly get full value out of them.
I just gave you some of my predictions, but I'll add one more, which is I think we're going to see thousands and thousands more marketers using CTV as a main part of their buy.
Yeah.
I think it's just so much more targetable now. It's so much easier to activate, and the results are so proven and have worked for many, many years for the largest marketers. Maybe we'll change it to small and medium-sized brands instead of businesses. But I think we're going to see much more participation, and that's going to be a great thing.
It's great, and the 24 Olympics are just around the corner, too, so we're looking
Can't
forward
wait.
to some live sports. All right, thanks, everybody. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.